y'all. I know it's been a really long time since you've seen my face. Probably a couple years now. I know the last video that I posted was in December, announcing my pregnancy. And since then, I've been extremely quiet, even though I said I was coming back. So I want to explain what's been going on in my life and everything that's happened. So why don't we go ahead and jump into that right now. So we're going to see how far I make it into this without completely losing my ish. So this is going to be a completely raw video. I mean, I felt it and I needed to do it, and I haven't felt like doing this. So I needed to do it while I felt it. So my hair's up. Just was in the middle of doing chores, and it just hit me heavy that I needed to do this, and I feel like I need to do it for myself and get it out in the open, and it might help me, make me feel better. So I'm gonna try not to break down the whole time. But yeah, I apologize for the way I look, how the lighting is, all that stuff. And I'm living in a different place, but that's for a whole nother video. I just feel as though I left things extremely open-ended after my last video and saying that I was coming back and announcing my pregnancy and all that. So I want to explain where I've been and what has happened. So you last heard from me in December. I was around 17 weeks pregnant when I posted that video. And I told my kids, I had announced it on social media and everything like that. We had kept it very quiet for a long time. So I was really excited to finally come out with it and tell everybody and get to just be extremely excited and everybody else be excited and all that kind of thing. So fast forward to January. It was around my daughter's birthday. I can't remember the exact dates on some of it, but I remember days. So it was a Thursday night, and we had just came home from Walmart, and I started feeling really cruddy, and I started feeling cold, you know, like when you run a fever, like the chills and everything like that. So I kind of just was blowing it off. The next day, I was feeling horribly, but I was trying to pull myself together. Me and my boyfriend were going to pick up his kids for his weekend with his kids. That's also another story for another day. So much is going on. I have to update so much stuff. But anyways, back to my story. We were going to pick up his kids and, you know, spend time with them for the weekend, and my kids were with their father. I felt horrible, like really horrible. I remember that my boyfriend's mom and her family were in the process of moving, and we were taking a fish tank to his mom's house, or not the fish tank, but the fish. We were going to take the fish because we were in the process of moving as well, and we were taking the fish there for a while. We were in the process of moving. And I remember we went over to his mom's house, and my pants were wet, and because I was holding the fish in a cooler, and my pants were wet, and I went in and changed my pants, and in his mom's house, and I knew something was wrong. Like, I just didn't feel right. So I called my doctor's office. Well, the on-call, they were already closed by the time I called. I called the on-call doctor and told her that I didn't feel good. I thought I was running a fever, and I felt lethargic and faint and all this stuff. And I had been feeling a little bit of wetness down there, but I attributed it to every time I would sneeze, I would piss on myself. So I just, you know, thought that's what was going on. Okay, so fast forward to, I knew in my gut something was wrong. So my mom took me to an immediate care, and they tested me. They tested my urine and all that. Well, I had a extremely bad UTI. I was extremely dehydrated, and I had strep throat. The doctor instructed me to go to labor and delivery. So the on-call doctor instructed the nurse on what she thought needed to be done. I really am angry about this visit to triage and labor and delivery because I don't feel like they did enough. And they kind of just blew me off like I was imagining things. So they were like, the doctor said she feels that I could just go home and drink water and be okay. I knew I was extremely dehydrated. The baby wasn't moving like the baby had been moving. Oh, well, you're just, 22 weeks along. Well, I was 21 weeks. You're only 21 weeks along, so they're not going to move a whole lot anyway. I knew my baby. I knew how things usually work. I insisted on them giving me an IV before I left. That made me feel better. They did not check my cervix. They did not check me to see if my amniotic fluid was leaking, despite me telling them that I had been feeling wetness. So they let me go. I was extremely upset because my daughter's birthday party and my boyfriend's, this was on a Friday. So the next day, we were going to be having my daughter's birthday party. It was my boyfriend's birthday, and we were doing our gender reveal. And we had invited a bunch of people. Well, I decided that it would be best if we just kept it low-key and not have everyone over, because I didn't want to infect everyone with strep throat. So I asked my daughter what she wanted to do, and she was really excited about finding out the gender. So she still wanted her party and all that with just us close family. So it was me, my boyfriend, her, my 2 sons, my boyfriend's mom, and my mom, because they were going to reveal the baby's gender to us. They were the only 2 that knew. So we went ahead and we were going to do that. So fast forward, and my boyfriend's 2 kids were going to be there as well. So fast forward to Saturday. I had been on my antibiotics that they gave me at the immediate care for the strep throat and urinary tract infection. So I was feeling a little bit better, but I still faint and feeling fevered every once in a while, but I was okay. Still feeling the wetness every once in a while, but I was trying to be excited for my daughter's birthday party and for the gender reveal, because I was waited what seemed like forever to find out if we were having a boy or a girl. Trying not to lose my shit currently. Not already. So we had the gender reveal, and it was a girl, and I was so excited. And he was so excited, and my daughter was really, really excited. So that was on a Saturday. The next day, my boyfriend had to go to work. It was on a Sunday, and I had all 5 kids, my 3 kids, and my boyfriend's 2 kids. And I literally could not get out of bed. I could not get out of bed to do anything. If it was not for my older 2 kids there to help me with the toddlers, I don't know what I would have done. And I kept feeling a lot more wetness in my pants. I knew something was wrong. I had told my mom and my boyfriend all day that something was wrong and something didn't feel right. So he gets home and he starts cooking dinner, because there's absolutely no way that I could have gotten up to do anything. And I went to the restroom, and I knew there was a lot coming out. I thought I was wetting my pants. I was hoping that that's what was happening. But I had been noticing off and on all day some cramping whenever I would move. And I just figured it's because I was dehydrated, extremely dehydrated, because that can cause contractions. Well, I went to the bathroom after he got there, and I wiped, and there was blood. So I immediately screamed for him and told him that we had to go to the hospital. Well, I called my mom, And he insisted that he was going to the hospital this time, and he asked my mom to stay with all of our kids. It was almost bedtime at this point. I called a on-call nurse line, whatever, for labor and delivery, told them what was going on. I told them I was coming in, and it was the same doctor that had been on call on Friday. So we went into labor and delivery. They took me to the triage area, and they did all the usual stuff, listening for the heartbeat. I already knew there was a heartbeat because I listened for it before we left, because I saw blood. I had my own Doppler. And so I knew she was okay at that moment. But then they checked my cervix. I was 1 centimeter dilated. And they did the swab. If you've had a baby, you know that if you suspect that your amniotic fluid is leaking, they can do a swab, and if it turns a certain color, then that's what it is. But because I had some bleeding, that can tamper with the way the test reads. So they were going to have to send it off for a culture. Well, the doctor took the culture and went across the street to the OB office to look at it under the microscope. And they went ahead. They said I was going to stay. They said I was going to stay the night. We're going to keep you overnight. So they moved me into a room on the labor and delivery floor. And the doctor came back and told me, or told us, it was me and my boyfriend, that my water was in fact leaking. My amniotic fluid had broken. And if you have had a baby before, you know that at 22 weeks, 21 weeks and some days, this was on Super Bowl Sunday, so the next day I was going to be 22 weeks. You know that viability is usually 24 weeks and all. So, being told this, and I'm a doula, so I'm well educated in all things birth and babies and pregnancy. And being told this, I knew it wasn't good. So they kept me overnight, and I was going to see maternal fetal medicine the next day on Monday. So they put me, because I was on complete bed rest, just to go to the restroom, that was it. They put me in a wheelchair to wheel me to maternal fetal medicine. That was the most earth-shattering thing I've ever had to do. We just saw her a couple weeks before, and this time my amniotic fluid was so low they couldn't even really get a good picture of her or her profile or anything. And my cervix was a lot shorter, and there was almost no amniotic fluid inside. So the maternal fetal doctor came in and was giving us a couple choices, and he was like, you can deliver now, or we can wait and basically fight it out and give her a chance. And there was no choice for me. We're gonna wait it out and give her a chance to fight. So that was Sunday. So the next couple of days were fairly quiet, but we get to Wednesday, February 6th, and it was a fairly quiet day, but then I had noticed some stuff happening down there, and I could have sworn I was having contractions, but the nurse told me that I wasn't, because we had just done monitoring. They would do an hour of her heartbeat and contractions, but she was monitoring me up above on my stomach. At 5 months pregnant, your uterus is not above your belly button yet, and I kept asking her if she could move it down to see if I was having contractions, because I was almost certain I was having contractions almost every 5 minutes consistently, but she never moved it, so we will never know. Well, I know because I know what was happening with my body. But, so we did the monitoring and all that. And then I went to the restroom and had noticed some blood. I let the nurse know about it, which was almost, there was no point because there was nothing she could tell me anyway that she would tell me. So I got back in my bed, put my little cuffs on my legs to prevent blood clots and all that. And I was sitting there watching TV and talking to my boyfriend and all this stuff. And then they had brought my dinner in, and I was actually hungry for the first time. So I was really looking forward to eating. So I wanted to get up and go to the restroom one more time before I sat back down to eat. So I walk into the restroom, and I sit down, and I felt like I had to poop, so I kind of tried. And I pushed a little bit, and then something felt different. And I looked down, and our daughter's head was coming out. And I screamed for him to get somebody, that something was wrong. And he kind of just, he didn't know what to do. And I'm yelling at him to get somebody. And then I started screaming for help. And nobody came. And he went out the door and came back in. And then I gave birth to our daughter on the toilet in the bathroom. Just me and him in the room. And she was so quiet. And so little. She just fit in both of my hands. Her head just fit right in my hand. And all I could say to her was, "I'm so sorry." And I just sat there and cried because I knew she was born alive, but I knew she wouldn't live for very long. She didn't make any sounds, but I could see her breathing and trying to breathe. A bunch of nurses came in, and somebody from NICU came in, and they asked me if I wanted them to take her to try to work on her, and I didn't want to be apart from her. I wanted to hold her as long as I could, because I knew we wouldn't have her for very long. And I insisted, at this point I'm taking charge of everything, because up until this point I felt out of control of everything and nobody was listening to anything I said, and I wanted someone to be taking pictures of her, and I wanted my boyfriend to cut the umbilical cord. And I got that, and I pulled her up to my chest, and they walked me back to the bed, and you know, I had to deliver the placenta and all that stuff, but I had her on my chest, and she was still very much alive. We didn't get a lot of time with her. I think she probably lived about 30 minutes. And I held her. Everyone left the room, and I held her, and he held her, and we just had that time by ourselves with her, and then we let all our family in so they could come hold her. And her godparents got to hold her. And after all that, everything else is a blur. I have to ask everybody else kind of what happened, but I don't really think I can fully explain to somebody how empty I felt. That literally is the worst heartbreak I've ever experienced. And we got footprints, and they're actually tattooed. I don't know if I need to. These were the actual size of her feet. And we both have this tattoo for her. And so we got her footprints and all the things like that. And we got to keep her in the room with us. So I didn't quite get 24 hours with her, but the next morning they started getting us ready for discharge because, you know, they got to make room for the other people coming in. And so they came in and I had to sign the death certificate. She didn't even get a birth certificate because they deemed her stillborn, even though she was very much alive when I gave birth to her. But the most hurtful part was being wheeled out of the hospital without my baby. I only had her teddy bear that it's actually sitting right here. It's a weighted bear that one of the nurses gave us. And this is what I carried out of the hospital instead of my daughter. And instead of carrying a baby home to their new house like I had done 3 times before, I had to go to a funeral home and set up arrangements for my daughter to be cremated. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Anyone. And that next couple weeks are just a blur. Our daughter was born February 6th, 2019. She was 14.1 ounces and 10.5 inches long. And she looked just like me. Just like me. Words can't even describe what it feels like. There's an emptiness that I don't think will ever go away. Nobody could quite understand this unless they've gone through it. I don't get to carry my daughter in my arms. She's in this urn. She's also in this urn necklace too. Me and her daddy both have one. And mine is, says I love you to the moon and back. Because that's what me and her daddy say to each other. And that's what her nursery theme was going to be. Was clouds and moons and stars. And that's why her urn is galaxy. But this isn't how it was supposed to be. I shouldn't have her sitting on a shelf. And I think most days I'm just really angry and not understanding why this happened. Why give me this baby just to take her away from me? I'm trying to get through all that and work through all that a little bit at a time. It's been 3 months now. On June 6th, it'll be 4 months since she was born. I don't think I know I'll never get over it. And I don't care what anyone says. There's absolutely no way I'll ever get over it. It might get a little bit easier, but for right now, it's still extremely fresh. And we both are extremely heartbroken. He just keeps his inside a little bit better than I can. But, yeah. So that's what has been happening for the last 4 months, just trying to get by and get back into the swing of things, which is even harder. And just trying to keep busy and keep my mind busy. So I'm hoping to get back into all the things that make me happy. YouTube is something that always made me happy, so I'm hoping to share this journey. I don't want to say a journey of grief, but a journey of healing and we are hoping for a rainbow baby at some point. If you don't know what a rainbow baby is, that's a baby born after a loss, and that would be something I feel like would heal our hearts a lot. Nothing will ever replace her, but I think that would heal us a lot. I hate that I got on here and cried, because everybody that's watched me for a while knows I'm very upbeat, very positive, always laughing and smiling or doing anything to make somebody laugh or smile. But lately that's been hard, and I'm hoping to get that back. But I'm gonna update everybody on all the other things going on in my life, my relationship status, my moving, and all of the things. So hopefully I can get all of that out for you guys soon. But if you made it this far, thanks for listening. And I hope maybe by sharing my story, I can help somebody else that may be hurting and going through the same thing. Thank you guys for watching.